Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Blue Marble Science. Let's play Stump the Numpty, shall we? Let's try this guy here. Warning, severe facial and monitor damage alerts in effect. Get out those mitts of the oven variety. Push the monitors back out of punching range and let's light a dumpster fire and have some fun. Bev Try Thinking is a flat earther who desperately denies being a flat earther. And the other day, he was in the BMS Discord server, engaged in a lively conversation with some of the other members. I picked up on a couple of things he said. He said, the Earth obviously isn't flat, though. I find it really strange that you can't see this. There's definitely elevation changes that make it not flat. And then he says, I'm not a flat earther. I can prove the Earth is not flat. Really? I think we'll just check that out. So, the dry part isn't flat because of terrain. Well, yeah, we've got hills and mountains and dips and bumps and all kinds of stuff. I agree, it's not flat. What about the 70% of the surface that isn't dry? What shape is that? What shape are the oceans, Bev? Let's see how well I do at trying to pin him down on this. I said, you can't prove that all horizontals are parallel unless you first prove the Earth is flat, Bev. Your so-called proof has a fatal flaw in that regard. And Bev says, there's definitely a mathematical proof that all horizontals are parallel. Well, we're going to get into that. I said, and the same thing applies. You must first show that the Earth is flat, and then all horizontals become parallel to it. Without that proof, you have nothing but wild assertions. And Bev says, it's got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, Blue. The Earth is not flat. I said, it has everything to do with the shape of the Earth. Bev, what's wrong with you? Horizontal to what? What are your parallel horizontals horizontal to? Don't be ridiculous. So let me explain to you what I was talking about. You know, this is obvious to everybody, but let's just run through it real quick. Let's draw a horizontal surface. And now let's draw a gravity vector and a line that's perpendicular to that gravity vector. Now we would call that line horizontal. And now if we let gravity do something it can't do, and that is be perpendicular to that horizontal surface, no matter whether it's there or where we had it in the first place, horizontal is always going to be perpendicular to the gravity vector. And that means that any line that is perpendicular to any gravity vector is always going to be parallel with any other horizontal line. Whether it's that line or that line, that's the way it's going to be. But the Earth is not a horizontal surface. The Earth is a level surface. The Earth is a sphere. So the surface of the water has no natural horizontal point to it. The only point you can say that is horizontal is the point where a line becomes tangent to that level surface. That point right there. Now at that point we have a horizontal line perpendicular to the gravity vector, and any line above that or below it perpendicular to that particular gravity vector is going to be parallel to any other line that's perpendicular to that gravity vector. But that's not true when we move to a different position. As soon as we move to a different position, we have a different gravity vector. They're all pointing toward the center of mass. Any line that's perpendicular to that gravity vector will be parallel to the tangent to that gravity vector, but not to any other horizontal line. These horizontals are clearly not parallel with the horizontal lines of the first gravity vector that we looked at. Now, for some reason, this concept escapes people like Bev, but this is really all we're talking about, so let's continue. I said, that's a BS cop-out, Bev. You're so ashamed of what you believe you aren't even willing to admit what it really is. Do you or do you not believe that mean sea level is flat? Yes or no? Bev says, it's definitely not flat, Blue. I can prove it. I said, then you admit that mean sea level is curved. Since you admit that, which part of the curve is horizontal to? Uh-oh. Bev says, it's a mathematical mean, Blue. Are you feeling okay today?
that you had you could you do you want you could do so you do you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
I said it's a measured mean, Bev. They measure it at tide stations. Are all the means coplanar or not? Easy question. And then I said, I think we have ourselves a checkmate. Well, Bev replies, it's a mathematical mean, Blue, and since the measured levels are measured on a vertical, then it's a point on a vertical datum. I said, that isn't what I asked. Are all the sea level means coplanar, or do they follow the shape of a curved surface? And then I showed him a little diagram from LIGO. I said the orange line is the straight line connecting the start and end of the LIGO Northwest pad at Hanford. The blue line is the actual elevations. Welcome to the globe. Well, I'll explain that diagram a little better. I took the beginning elevation of the northwest arm and the ending elevation of the northwest arm, and I figured out what the elevations needed to be in order to make that a straight line. And those are the elevations you see plotted there along that straight orange line. But the elevations plotted on the blue line are what are actually at LIGO. Those are the actual elevations for that pad. You notice they form a curve, and that curve actually has a radius of about 6,400 kilometers. It looks inverted, but you think about that for a second. In order to make that line straight, what you need to do is plot not against a straight baseline down there. If we made that baseline curved at a radius of 6,400 kilometers, the blue line becomes straight and the orange line becomes curved. So let's go on. Now this was just a comment to the people that were watching in the chat. I said, pay attention to what's going on. Bev is running from the question I'm asking as to whether mean sea level is a planar surface, because if it is, he's a flat earther, as if that wasn't already obvious. But if MSL isn't planar, then what is horizontal to? Bev says it's definitely not flat, guys. I've told you I can prove it. I said, great, let's go. Is mean sea level a flat planar surface or not? Bev says, definitely not flat. I said, say the words, please. Just say sea level is definitely not flat. Bev says, it's a mean, Blue. That means it's a mathematical average. This is like trying to teach nuclear physics to a bucket of fish bait. So my next question was, are those averages coplanar or not, Bev? Bev says they're just points, Blue. So I'll try again. I said, are the points coplanar in space or not, Bev? And Farmer's Boy jumped in and said, you just can't bring yourself to say it, can you? It's okay, we know you're a flat earther. Bev says, I'm not a flat earther. I can prove it's not flat. I said, you aren't doing a very good job, Bev. You sound like a flat earther to me. And at that point, a couple of Bev's cohorts jumped in the chat and tried to distract everything. So we had to get away from that. It took a minute or two, but we got back to it. And I said, now, after that distraction designed to get Bev off the hook, what about it, Bev? Ignoring waves and tides, which is what mean sea level does, is the surface of the ocean a plane or not? If you say yes, you're a flat earther, no question about it. But you've done nothing to prove the ocean is flat under the conditions I just stipulated. If you insist the ocean isn't flat, even ignoring waves and tides, then it must be curved, and there are an infinite number of planes that can be tangent to that curve. So which is it? You may need some help with this one. Bev says, you can't talk about the sea and forget about tides. That's why they have a mean in the first place. I said, good, Bev. Let's talk about mean sea level. Is mean sea level a flat plane or not? Bev says, it's a point, Blue. I said, what? Are you saying there's only one point that's mean sea level? Surely not. That would be stupid. Where is this point? And then I said, are you beginning to feel the walls closing in, Bev? Bev says, no, Blue. MSL is still a point on a vertical datum. I said, does that datum apply at one and only one geographic point, or does the datum apply to every geographic point, Bev? I say mean sea level applies to every individual geographic location. Surely you don't disagree with that. And here it comes. Bev says, the geometry we'd use is Euclidean, and it would describe the points, not the other way around like you seem to suggest. I said, great. In Euclidean geometry, do all the MSL points describe a Euclidean plane or not? Bev says, I know the trigger words, and I'm trying really hard not to use them. Yes. I'm not sure what that meant. So I said, 3 points describe a plane, Bev. Are you aware of that? Bev says, any 3 points, yes. Then Bev says, where are these 3 points? And I left this in because I thought it was hilarious. Stark Otter says, objection, irrelevant. So I said, the south shore of England, the entrance to New York Harbor, and the coast of Portugal. He wanted 3 points, I gave them to him. Time passed, I said, waiting. More time passed, I said, should we call this a TKO or let the judges decide? And finally I said, well folks, thanks for playing Stump the Numpty. Be sure to tune in next week. You see how hard it's become to get these guys to even admit to who they are? It's amazing. Maybe we're having an effect on them after all. But I'll tell you what, Bev, if you don't like what I say, listen to the Ordnance Survey. That's the British group that are probably some of the best in the world at understanding the earth we live on and how to map it. And according to them, a horizontal plane is a level surface? Of course it cannot be, because the earth is round. I think I'll go with what they say. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget the little buttons down there. There's a link to the Patreon and the PayPal. If you feel like supporting the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, I guess we'll see you guys on the next one.